Okay, really quick explanation of brackets. Here we go. Here's what Aero Sports supplies. Rumor has it they also supply the center console and ship out the same stuff for Lancers and other things. Maybe this fits a Lancer. I have no idea. Put it up against anything on the RV14. The holes don't match, and it does not work for the McFarlane cables. McFarlane cables are the only ones that I particularly wanted to go with. So now we have to make something work. This is something that somebody came up with. It was shared openly, and so I 3D printed it just to kind of get a basis of what does that look like. Good product. I could see how it works for some people. I didn't particularly love it. I wanted the prop cable a little bit lower, so I dropped that and I started making these brackets. Essentially, this is close to a final. You can see there's a divot there, right? Put it up against the black. There we go. You can see there's a divot there. Problem with all of these brackets, they have to be milled. Milling is expensive. I was trying to essentially go from this, which was $800 in milling, hoping that I was going to get somewhere in the $300 range. That did not happen. I'm still sitting somewhere around $450, $500 milling these. So time to pivot. Here's start to final. By the way, this is a 1/10 of everything that I 3D printed. But anyways, so I started off with, all right, I want the brackets to still drop like they did here. And I started making brackets that essentially would drop it. So I'll put that up against to where you can see it. So it drops and then yet still works for all three cables. Kind of for the most part, this is the production final that does drop. It's going to be a little bit, the angle on this back plate is going to be slightly different. This was essentially a production final that didn't quite work. I need to change the angles just a hair more. But anyways, this is very, very close to the final product that I will be wanting to sell to, hopefully in some years' time, get my money back out of all of this that I have either milled or that I'm doing at this moment. Now, with that said, I'm also going to offer stuff on the control side because McFarlane only ends in a 1032 stud. So essentially there is still a disconnect between the console, the bracket that you need, and then what you need for the ends of the McFarlane cables whenever you get those. That explanation coming up now. Moving on, McFarlane says that rod end bearings are what they were pretty sure was used in here. There's no iteration where a rod end bearing does not interfere with either the mixture or the throttle lever once you put a nut on the back side of any one of those levers. So I came up with this clevis, and then you have this, which then it will also get a cotter pin installed into it, and it will come with a locking nut. So 4 items per lever times 3. Okay, so what does that look like in actual practice? There's 2 B-nuts either side with roughly, I'm going to guesstimate here, let's call that 3/4 play either side. This right here articulates. So you have your actual post that comes out that slides up and down within the throttle body. I'm sure I'm butchering technical terms here, but essentially it allows it to move and articulate. Same thing with the lower one, the prop. You can see has an up and a down effect to it. So in designing the bracket, you have to be spot on angularly to make sure that you are not going too far downwards on this middle one or too far upwards on this one. This bracket currently is not the one that's going to go into production. I'm off by somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 degrees on this bracket. I'm still doing measurements on it. We're so close, but yet still no cigar. These are the attachments that can be supplied with the bracket. Again,
nice, easy, smooth action on them.
And to wrap up this video, let's also talk about the good and the bad about having a center console. First and foremost, the bad, a lot of people say that it's harder to stretch your legs out. Sometimes they want to stretch their legs out across this area. With that said, I'm also going to have an oxygen panel from here to here, sitting inside of here. So that was never really an option. As far as it goes with my father, who is up there in age, being able to push off of this is great. It gets him out of the airplane a whole lot easier. The bad, again, your throttle friction, let's see if I can, there we go, is sitting down in here. And let me just take this off. I had to, don't have that hinge bolted up.
I had to also modify this. I had to cut down here at the bottom to where it swings correctly all the way to the bottom. So this had to get ground to where you don't catch a finger on it and cut your finger. So trying to reach over with your hand and move this while it is between, there we go again, while it is between, this is hard to do one-handed, but while it is between this seat is almost impossible. Luckily, just like the other side, I don't have anything over here, so I can offset it just a bit, and I mean just a bit, like that. Does it look horrible? Yes, somewhat, but I can offset it. I can get my hand in there while I'm sitting in that seat or this seat, and the stick does not quite interfere. Next up, in here, you're going to have to modify this ball joint area. I call it ball joint. It's really not truly a ball joint, but you're going to have to modify that area. You're going to have to gauge it out to 5/16. I put essentially a 5/16 drill bit on a drill press and modified it. I'm not sure that I would highly suggest that because it kind of catches on the drill press and it was not safe. Next up, also this bracket here, I had to take a Dremel and I had to cut out here to here and around here so that this B-nut here would fit. So there are a lot of modifications that you have to do, and I still need to get this here, put a clamp onto here. But anyways, there are a lot of modifications. There are a lot of positives to having a center console like this. There are some negatives. There is a great deal of modifications you are going to have to do. But at the end of the day, that's experimental aviation for you. I much prefer this. Somebody may much prefer to have the controls sitting there in the panel. It certainly is a lot less time and a lot easier to do. Okay, just a few more items here to go with. Throttle is over here off to the side. This nut right here, it's a 10 millimeter nut. Let's see if I can get a better focus. There we go, 10 millimeter nut right here. And you can see teeth sitting off to the side right there. So you can take this off and you can rotate this arm around this axis. This hex screw stops this from rotating, so you don't have to worry about being on the other side here or anything like that. It works just fine. I found I needed to go, I can't remember, it's 2 or 3 teeth down to get a full swing, essentially stop to stop. Oh man, let's see if I can get, so there's the plate. So stop to stop, which the first stop, this is closed and the stop, and then if you look down, let's go, this stop here stops this elbow. So getting full motion stop to stop on the throttle took a lot of going back and forth. And then on top of that, I even had to take off the center console, get down in here, and for the throttle, I had to move this nut and this clevis pin, but it all resulted in a lever that is full throttle and then stops here on closed. So just note, and I'm gonna get into it here in just a second, but just note that these levers full closed are winding up different here, whereas full open, I've made them to where they're all stopping at the same point, because ultimately, what do you want to know? You want to know full open. As far as full closed, that's just for shutdown. That's easy to do, right? It's easy to have a slightly offset. Again, this is one of the things that may deter people from having a center console. Me, not so much. Other people, maybe. Having this friction lever, like we talked about, may deter people. Just trying to give everybody all of the information that they could possibly need. Okay, in the interest of explaining every good and bad thing about this armrest, I also must add that this red lever here, and again, I want to reiterate, these cables are built on multiple people building this. At least 2 or 3 iterations of people building this. As best as I can tell from McFarlane, I'm number 3 or 4, somewhere in there. And it seems like everybody has used the same measurements for the throw distances of the levers. It's just where does the B nut line up, et cetera, et cetera. So I must also state, along with the frustration of having your friction lever down here, this is a little weird. The mixture control, this is essentially full rich, and then back here, this is lean, essentially no fuel whatsoever. It stops quite short. Now, with that said, I'm gonna have these wonderful panels here telling me exactly my flow rate, et cetera, et cetera. It's not detrimental, so to speak, but it is a little weird that it stops here. Why does it stop there? Well, on the throttle body itself, you can see, let's see if I can get, yeah. So this is full rich stop. This is full lean stop. There's not a lot of throw here. So if I just grab this cable and I move it, the stop there to that stop, not a ton of throw. The angle is still quite great. Coming off of Van's stock bracket. However, with that said, as I stated in a previous video, you're gonna have to modify it a bit, and you're gonna wanna make sure to set this nut with about 2 to 3 threads showing on the backside and a lot more on the front there. That essentially sets you up for a perfect stop to stop here. And yet, once you're full rich is fine. We'll go back to the aircraft, we'll look at it. Full rich, I've essentially set it up to where it's sitting just right before, so that I can always know that I've got my full rich just a hair before. And then full lean, as we go this way, full lean is gonna show up as there. It is what it is. 9 times out of 10, you're running, what, 60%, whatever. So you're still gonna be in here. It's gonna look mostly accurate. The only person that knows that it's a little bit off is gonna be you. Just trying to explain every pitfall, every idiosyncrasy, if you will, of this throttle quadrant and how it all comes together. I still love it. I think I'll greatly appreciate it in the air, but I'm just trying to paint an entire picture before people are buying a console, buying the throttle quadrant, spending at least $1,500 in cables, buying a bracket, etc., etc. At least you don't have to do nearly as much work as I have put into this, and you're not having to call McFarlane every 2 to 3 hours to have Randy modify your drawings and your cables. Hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Hope you fully understand what you're getting into. Cheers.